Hey, what's up, nerds? It's Paul at Radio Free Hammer Hall. We just got the new Battlescroll, finally, and I just thought I would share some thoughts on some things that kind of jumped out at me or I noticed going through all of the changes. Obviously, not going to be comprehensive. This is just like a 5 minute give my thoughts kind of video. Um, Number one, they did a lot to Cities of Sigmar. They changed some the ability on the command core about denying enemy commands. They changed the Warforgers spell so that it only works on melee units. So no more giving your Fusiliers mortal wounds. Steam tanks went up in points. Uh, a few other points changes here and there, and a couple other minor fixes. I think that really is a bunch of good changes. Taken all together, it kind of addresses a lot of the problems and doesn't do it in, I think, too heavy-handed of a way, and they're doing it kind of like in an elegant way. So that one kind of gets a thumbs up from me. I think I hope that it does what needs to be done. Um, they, in the MetaWatch video, they mentioned, oh, we're changing a bunch of the units, the reach on units when they have 1 inch reach on weapons and they, they're on 32 mil bases, so the second rank can attack. And when I actually went through all of the errata, there were not many of those, and they definitely left some important ones out. Like, there's no Bestigor, there's no Ard Boys, although I haven't looked at their new scroll, so maybe they're okay now. Um, Plague Priests. Speaking of plaguey things, Plague Monks got their minimum unit size increased to 20, which I think is going to make them a lot more viable to play in Skaven lists. Being at 10 before, that's just a unit that wants to be a giant horde, so it was just not a place that you wanted to drop a whole bunch of your reinforcement points into, but getting that spread out a bit more is definitely going to be good. Price didn't change, like it just doubled everything, but I think that's okay. Uh, Demon Prince. Let's have a conversation about Demon Princes, guys. Where we were at before with the attack profiles, when that book first dropped, a bunch of us had misread it and thought we got like the axe or the sword and also got the talons. And looking at that, doing the math, we were like, wow, this thing does not hit very hard. And then we read it again, and it's not an and, it's an or. You pick one of the three weapon profiles. And then the response was, this thing is trash. What are they doing? Demon Princes are supposed to be awesome. If I, roll an 11 or 12 on the Eye of the Gods, I am not going to bother summoning a Demon Prince. I'm just going to give him another buff. So, just increasing their attacks by a couple, no. Still trash. Still needs fixing. No amount of just like the points changes is going to fix how bad that is. At least reasonably speaking, points changes. Then the changes they made to Nurgle, which, near and dear to my heart, they were some interesting changes. Sloppy Bilepiper is no longer preventing pile-ins. He's giving -1 to hit instead, which I think is also really strong. Definitely not as bad of a play experience for your opponent as simply not being able to pile in. All things taken together, I think that it's going to significantly decrease the usefulness of Beasts of Nurgle, because they didn't really do much other than kind of pin things here and there, just kind of be bodies around, zoning stuff off. Um, the goal was really to like pin things in and then prevent pile-ins and just kind of hold a unit there. And then if something else moves in at them, then your next turn you can retreat and charge back in and, reposition so you're pinning stuff, more ideally again. So it's making Beasts of Nurgle, I think, significantly worse by doing that. I think it's going to give you a shift to running more Plague Bearers in that list. And overall, it's like not going to really substantially change what that list does, because they didn't do anything about Blightcreek, which is such a big problem on its own that also creates massively negative play experiences, right? Like, if you're still charging on your opponent's turn with a bunch, like a block of 30 Plague Bearers into your opponent, you can tie up a number of units, and your opponent's -1 to hit them. And if you have Fleshy Abundance on them, now they all have 3 wounds. It's going to be really hard to chew through all of that. And it's still putting your opponent in a position where they're in combat with a thing that's really hard to get rid of. And, not enough things in this game have like retreat and charge, or, have flying and a lot of movement. That you're still going to have the problem of getting in, pinning your opponent, and now on their next turn to get out of that situation where they're not like really winning a combat, they have to retreat, and then you can just charge right back in at them after they retreat. So they're still stuck in a combat that they don't want to be in, and now they're probably in an even worse position than they were before. So I think the Nurgle stuff doesn't actually, like, I think it's a nerf to Sloppity Bilepiper, but I think it just shifts kind of what your list is going to do in some of the composition. Like, probably not going to run Beasts of Nurgle anymore, in my opinion. Going to shift to more Plague Bearers. There was a points drop as well on your Rotmire Creed, which definitely makes them fit in lists a little bit better as well. So I think that's about it on my thoughts on that. I just want to, reiterate something I have said before. Hopefully Games Workshop is freaking watching this. Please, listen to me. Do math, guys. Do math. Making a 10 or 20 point change on a hero or a unique unit or anything that you're just going to take one of, and it's useless to make like a 10 or 20 point change. And the higher you go on the overall point value, it's like, why are you even bothering? You're not making a significant change to anything. You're not changing the playability of the thing. You're maybe tweaking, at most, like making a slightly different choice on the list around the periphery on things that are not even really going to change anything. So why are we doing this? The only time that points changes of like 10, 20 points are going to matter is when it's units that are a low point cost and you're going to take multiples of them. Or you have a bunch of things overall that are taken together in a list that all got those like marginal points decreases. Then it's actually going to change your list. But if you're just tweaking up and down a little bit, just an insignificant percentage, and overall looking at like an insignificant percentage of a 2,000 point list, it's like, the guys, you're not doing anything. Like, why are you even bothering? Like, this is stupid. Like, I don't, like, it just drives me crazy. Like why? Like, Archaon moved like, I don't know, like 30, 40 points or something. He's still like ridiculously expensive. He's still not, he's still so like way more than he should be. And the change that they made to him, and they didn't change anything else significantly, it doesn't change anything, guys. Maybe changing, like adjusting one thing, maybe slightly upgrading one unit. I don't get it. It drives me crazy. But ultimately, like, I don't really give a shit because I don't care that much about competitive play, and um at the end of the day, I think the meta in general was in a pretty good place, and yeah, they hammered out the proud nails, at least a lot of them. So I think overall it was a good change. Some things that were kind of dumb. There is still some cleanup and adjustments that need to be made, especially those units with like the 1 inch reach and 32 millimeter bases that are trash. Like, just fix them all. Like, unless you have some specific reason where like a unit would become radically overpowered if you did that, just change them all. Or, we have a new edition coming, so hopefully just change the rules about fighting in two ranks in a new edition. I don't know. That's it, guys. I think that's all that was really standing out to me. I was mostly focusing on like armies that I care about, and just other things that I kind of observed that jumped out at me. Nothing else too exciting from what I've seen about the chatter about this so far, but it's early. People haven't digested the whole thing yet. So anyway, I'm gonna sign off. I'll talk to you all later.